This meeting to order of the West Newbury Planning Board on 21 of January 2025. I have 7:02 p.m. First thing on the agenda is scheduled to be for 7:15. And because we don't want anybody to accidentally miss it, we can't start until 7:15. So we'll go on to we'll come back to it close to 7:15. And we'll go to 20 Garden Street, which is approval not required plan by Ann Longleway. Do we have a representative for Ann Longleway?
I'm here as this is Ann Seelig.
Hi.
Hi. I've asked the other party to come, but I'm not sure they're going to be here tonight. They're splitting the property to ultimately sell it to me.
Got you. But as far as the legal business, oh, okay, you've already got it up there. I was getting ready to share that. That's good. As far as the engineering side of things and the legal side of things, am I correct in that you didn't prepare a little presentation for us tonight?
I can present, yes.
Well, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. And my surveyor was supposed to be on as well. I'm not sure if Jared has joined us as well. He's from.
Oh, wait, there's technicality here. Ann, it was Ann, wasn't it?
Yep.
Your address?
28 Garden Street.
Okay. Why don't you go right ahead then?
Okay. So the Longleway family approached me to purchase some of their lot. They have a 5.4 acres, I believe, and 5.39. So our agreement was to agree upon a mutually agreeable split of the property. And it ends up with this 3 acres, the parcel A2, which will be split off of theirs, and they will retain parcel A1, which is keeps the house and a conforming lot. And parcel A2 will then be, I will purchase that from them as a non-buildable lot at this time of 3 acres. It has not enough frontage.
And then in the future, I assume you might do another A&R to merge it with your current property.
Correct. Yeah. I'm just trying to get one step at a time.
Yeah, well, that helps us.
Okay. So I engaged the surveyor from Wayfinder Survey, and he's done all the legwork. He's presented the plans. He can provide you with a Mylar copy once you guys have, and set the stakes once you guys have ask all the questions you need to and have approved this split.
Gotcha.
And I guess I'm assuming that the lot will get another number, or I'm not sure how that works ultimately, but
that'll happen afterwards.
Okay.
One thing that me being me, I don't see the surveyor's stamp in it. Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Over on the left. Yeah.
Planning board members, any comments?
I've walked this property. It will be a nice addition to the Seelig's current property, and gives them the option to expand the barn, which is fairly close to the property line. I see no problems changing this lot line.
And for an A&R, our concerns are access. And I assume that there's no difficulty with access here.
No, it has, if I'm trying to see where the line goes, their driveway is all on their side of the property. And then right along the edge of my property, there is a opening for access.
All right, I'm gonna take control here for a sec.
Yeah, could we zoom in down there, maybe? Yeah. Well,
right?
Yep,
Mhm. Yeah, it's level and, it's not wet or dropping off or anything really.
Yeah.
So
There's sort of
to
a
the right
farm
there,
Yeah, there's sort of a little lane there anyway.
yep.
Yeah.
Looks like Google Street Map caught the surveyor out there. in
It
action.
does, doesn't it?
Must be pretty recently updated.
yeah.
And any other planning board members have any comment?
Just a question, so it's the lot A1? I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me.
No,
A1 will remain with the current owner. A2 will be sold to me, and
Can you
I'm
see
the
this?
abutter on the right.
Sorry, I should have clarified my question. It's lot A1 for which this approval not required is being sought, though, right?
No.
That's the one that has the
Well,
conforming frontage?
currently it's this whole chunk, right?
Yes,
So
it's splitting.
currently it's former parcel A. Am I sharing the screen? Can you see
Yeah,
that?
you are, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the existing parcel is
Yes.
parcel A with 5.39 acres. And
Yes,
proposed new pair of parcels, parcel A1 and A2, are what the ANR is for. And it's
right.
really, well, I appreciate you're filling in the details, Ann. It's really none of our business about whether or not the purpose is for this new lot to be sold. If I'm correct, other planning board members can correct me on
how,
that.
yeah, I can't read it right. What's the frontage here? 200?
Exactly. Yeah, the
So-
frontage is 19, yeah, that's my question, Brian. That's why I thought this was for lot
The new
A1.
frontage here will be roughly 170 feet, 170.15,
Right.
I guess. And then
So-
the existing dwelling will maintain a 200-foot frontage. Hence
Correct.
I'm assuming that's why we've got this sort of convoluted line coming through here.
Mhm.
So it's clear that parcel A1 has the frontage, right? So no
Parcel
question about that.
A1,
Yes.
if it's created, will have proper frontage.
Yep.
Mhm.
It's parcel A2 that does not. So that, hence my question, it looks clear that parcel A1 has the adequate dimensional requirements. It's parcel A2 that seems to lack the frontage. Am I correct that it's 200 feet, I think?
Yeah.
Yes, but they're saying it's not a building lot. This is us
Right.
creating.
Can you see my cursor when I wave it around?
Yep. It says not a
Mhm.
building lot. Yep.
Yep. And
Yeah. So that's the
wetlands, but they are
exception
in
then.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, so whatever happens in the future happens in the future. Who the hell knows what's going to happen?
Right. Yep.
Right.
No, it sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
Like Deb was saying, as far as consolidating it with the other property.
Yeah.
Any other planning board member comments? Hearing none, Ann, you're the one
I
who
make a
set
motion?
this.
Yes, I move that the planning board endorse this plan as one not requiring approval under the subdivision control law.
Second.
I'm going to stop sharing here so that I can see all the planning board members on my screen. All those in favor, Ray Cook, aye.
And Barty and I.
Deb Hamilton.
Tim Cronin, aye. Sorry, Deb.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Yeah, the motion passes unanimously.
Great. I will have the surveyor get a Mylar copy to the town, so that I think that has to be done next step.
Katrina?
And
can
we
you
will
confirm what needs-
call the members to come in and sign that, Ann, and we'll let you know when it's ready to be picked up.
Okay, awesome.
Excellent, very good. Thank you, Ann, for helping us out by presenting this.
Thank you, Ray. Yep.
You bet.
Thank you.
It's 7:11. We've got a couple of minutes left. Why don't I just jump here to correspondence? Is there any correspondence, Katrina, that we can be aware of?
I believe there was, it was from the town of Haverhill.
Yep, it's just a public hearing notice from the town of Haverhill. Do you want me to share it?
I'm just taking a quick look.
Okay.
Basically a notification of zoning changes. Zoning changes.
Oh, actually, this is worth taking a look at here, yeah.
Mhm.
Waterfront, mixed use. ADU
ADUs.
proposal, yeah, and battery energy storage systems. Wow, it seems like all the rage these days.
Mhm.
Yes.
All right, very good. And still stalling here because it's 7:13.
Dribbling. It's in the back court.
Well, trying to take care of stuff. Um,
About
Yeah.
the minute's pretty
Yeah, the
short. I
minute-
can't remember.
Yep, the minutes of November 19th.
sure. Why don't you share the screen on that?
Okay. Has everyone read them?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
I guess just let me know if there's any changes.
Any change? Let's slow down. This page one. Normally we just
Okay.
look at one page at a time. So any edits for page one?
Nope.
All right, we'll go on to page two. All right, page three. I move that we accept the minutes as presented.
Second?
second,
Very good. All those in favor, Ray Cook, aye.
Pretty and I.
Deb Hamilton, I.
Tim Cronin, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you very much. All right, then. I think we're at 7:15. So, yes, it's 7:15. So, I'll now open the continued public hearing for 0 Middle Street. There's a special permit request for reduced frontage lot and scenic roads application. We're taking the two special permits concurrently. I see that Councillor Mead is here. Wonder if she'd like to kick things off.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And for the record, Lisa Mead, Telemann Costa, 30 Green Street, and to report. I do have a question before we get started. I was just wondering if Member Amon had qualified himself to continue to sit on this hearing, having missed the last one.
I can speak for him. You mean a Mullins form?
Yes.
He has signed a Mullins form, and also Ann Bardine also signed a Mullins form because she missed the October 15th meeting. So we have both of those all set.
Right. Yeah, I knew that Member Bardine had, but Member Amon is here tonight. So thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure who was
No,
participating.
and I'm glad to have you cross T's and dot I's here.
That's all right. So, Mr. Chair and members of the board, with me this evening is Eric Boderman and Sam Colombo from Millennium Engineers, who are the engineers on the project, and my colleague Ben Roberts is here also. And Ellen Thurlow is the trustee of the Thurlow Irrevocable Trust, and she's the owner of the property. And with us also is Mark Dickinson, who's a representative of Ms. Thurlow. At our last meeting, the board decided to request a peer review of our application and the proposed plans. Meridian Engineering, not to be confused with Millennium Engineering, did the peer review. And I'm going to ask Sam to review some of that or Eric to review the responses on that in a minute. just to remind the board, we're here for a reduced frontage lot A&R special permit. Currently, thank you, Ben. If you go to the next slide. Currently, the property consists of 400,237 square feet with 402 feet of frontage on Middle Street. The applicant is proposing 3 lots. Lot 1 with 102.47 feet of frontage and 264,562 square feet of area. Lot 2 with 200 feet of frontage and 46,953 square feet of area. And Lot 3 with 100 feet of frontage and 88,722 square feet of area. Also at the last meeting, the board asked for 2 additional things to be provided. We had provided a landscape plan at that meeting, and the board had requests for some more plantings to be provided in front of Lot 2. And so we have provided that updated landscape plan to the board, and we can review that in a minute. And then also requested that Millennium include an overlay of the contiguous buildable area on the plan set, so it would be easier to identify, and they have done that as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to either Sam or Eric to review the responses to the peer review and any changes they have made on the plans as a result of that.
Thank you.
Eric, I can take it. Sam Colombo speaking with Millennium Engineering. So from a technical perspective, there really weren't too many comments. I'm not sure if the members of the board were able to review the red line plans from Meridian, but most of the comments were pertaining to general plan cleanup and recommendations. There were a couple questions pertaining to the septic designs as well as general stormwater questions. However, we have disregarded those at this time because the Board of Health will conduct their own review of both the septic and stormwater. If we can go to the next page. Let's skip all the way to the contiguous buildable area plan. So this is a plan the board had requested at our last meeting. The green, sort of the light green color, is all of the contiguous buildable area. And you just have to ignore, I know there's some that spills over the property line. So you can ignore that for now. The orange you see on the plan does not count as contiguous buildable area. That depicts slopes that are greater than 20%, which you can't count in your calculations. In addition, you'll notice the green area stops at the wetland line, and that's because no wetlands counted in that calculation as well. If you're able to look over at the zoning tables, you can see there's plenty of CBA. We have, over 100% on all 3 lots. So hopefully that sort of clarifies some of the questions we had at our last hearing.
Let me jump in here real quick. It looks like I didn't scale it off exactly, sort of scaled by eye. What you say are slopes greater than 20% strike me as slopes of 20%. Can you clarify that?
So the orange here are all 3-to-1 slopes, just 33%. Correct. So all of the green is under 20% slopes.
Very good. Thank you. Go ahead, continue.
That's it for me. I can pass it over to Lisa.
Sure. So, Ben, if you could go down to the landscape plan. So at the prior meeting, the board may remember that we had essentially a tree and maybe one or two bushes right around the driveway. And now Howard, the landscape architect, has increased the plantings along the front of Lot 2. So those are there and they're identified along the front of Lot 2. And then the last thing I would like to say is the board also asked the peer review folks to review our sketch plans that we provided to the board to show what else could be done with the property. Obviously, this wasn't required, but we wanted to make a point relative to the board's control that exists on a reduced frontage lot special permit. And we provided the board with a 4 and 5 lot subdivision sketch plan. I think that the peer review person maybe lost something in translation or not, but indicated that, you know, the quote yield plan didn't have enough details under the bylaw, but we weren't under the OSRD bylaw, but we're not proposing an OSRD, right? So anyway, I just wanted to point that out, that that was the purpose, obviously, of the 4 and 5 lot subdivision. We're not proposing an OSRD at all. And with that, Mr. Chair, we're happy to take any questions that the board might have. We think that we have hopefully addressed all of the board's questions in addition to the technical review. I've gone through the criteria in the past, which we believe that we meet, and we'd request the board approve the special permit for reduced lot frontage and the scenic road special permit application as presented.
Thank you. I see that there's a number of people who are tuned into the meeting tonight. Just so you know, what we're going to do now is we're going to have planning board members comment and discuss, and this is a public hearing. So after that, we'll open it up to people in attendance who want to make statements or ask questions. So I go back to our planning board members and see if anybody has any comments, any questions about the application at this point. Brian, Ann, Tim?
No.
Tim?
Well, right, yeah, I'll start. I remain not in favor of this plan. I still do not see the rationale for doing this, merely because you can do something like this on a piece of paper. As I've said before, it does not give you does not make it something that has to be approved. We've heard from 4 abutters and 1 interested party in town. All were opposed to this. We take great stock in what our abutters have to say about a reduced frontage application. Many times, most of the time that I can recall in my tenure on the board, we look very carefully at the reduced frontage application in terms of what is the benefit of granting that application. And sometimes it's to make up for a few feet because a lot line, particularly in an older section of town, may have been compromised in some regard. There may be features on the site that suggest that a reduced frontage is the best fit. And that's kind of how we've done that here in town. We just don't normally approve these. Particularly here, there's another almost adjacent reduced frontage that was granted in the 90s, a few hundred feet to the west, I believe, of this location. I have felt that this places an undue hardship on the entire street, which abides by the 200-foot requirement. And again, I just do not see the rationale tonight and in all of these presentations for granting this application.
Thank you. Attorney Mead, any?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I wasn't sure whether I should wait and hear what everybody has to say, but I would certainly like to pipe in here. I think the what the benefit to the town is and to the board is something that we talked a little bit about at the very initial meeting. Yes, this requires a special permit. What could we do by right? Well, we could do by right an A&R, and we could put a duplex on it, right? So we could put 2 duplexes on each lot, and then you would have a streetscape that is completely different, and you would have no control over that other than the standard dimensional requirements, right? So we could do that, and that happens in town. Ben, do you want to show a picture of a recent duplex that was built in town that we have? So we could do that by right, and you have no control over it. Here, so we could do this. We could do it, with the standard setback on both of these lots. If we just did an A&R. So you have no control over it, and the special permit reduced frontage lot allows you to have control. If you go back to the main plan, Ben, we could do a 4 or 5 lot subdivision. You have control insofar as you review the subdivision laws, but if we meet all of the requirements and don't ask for a waiver, then you've got 4 or 5 lots over which you can't apply any conditions. So I think that it's not actually true that there's no benefit, because you're controlling the development here, with the location of the housings, with the planting. We're happy to talk about that rear property, which some folks, including a member of the board who's not sitting on this application, has indicated that people ride through and then ride directly through the property, which of course is trespassing if you're doing it without permission. So we could talk about that rear section of the property where the trails are, and what benefit that provides to the town, and how we continue to provide that benefit or to people in the town. But I just disagree. I think that in fact there's a lot of benefit to this over by right development.
Thank you. I would just, as a counterpoint, say you have 3 driveway openings here. If you did a subdivision, you have 1 driveway, 1 street opening. And yes, you have the potential. You certainly could do 3 homes. Possibly you could do 4. I'm telling you, there's no way you would get 5, but you could possibly do 4. And the streetscape's going to be changed, no matter what. I also kind of find it interesting at the 11th hour here. Now you would like to talk about the rear of the property. I'm all ears.
Just because you mentioned that, there is a tradition, even if it's been technically trespassing, of people passing over this land on occasion. Is there any offering of a trail easement to connect what you've designated on your plans as Woods Path to Middle Street?
No, not out to Middle Street, absolutely not. But we would, my client would be willing to carry over that rear lot line you see in lot 3 across to the western property line and donate that parcel to the town. Then you've got the Essex County Greenbelt parcel to the west.
But you're being very clear that there would be no connection in the future between the back of the property and Middle Street.
Not through those 3 lots. That's correct. You can go out through either the properties for the other people that use it on the east, or through the Greenbelt property, but not through those lots. No.
Okay. I guess I'll just go and just double check. Ann Bardine, any comments?
No, I'm pretty much in agreement with what Brian said in his statement tonight.
Very good. Deb Hamilton is recused. Tim Cronin?
I just had a question on the landscaping, how that would propose to be enforceable. Is that were you proposing that there would be a condition, to the approval of, regarding the commitment on this landscaping?
Yes, absolutely. The condition would be that this landscaping be implemented as part of the project.
And then perhaps guaranteed for a year or something like that.
Yeah, you make sure that it lives, through the first season, right? That's a standard. I'm sure you've used that condition before, but for sure.
And Ted, any comments or questions?
Yeah, I have some thoughts on this. I mean, I'll start off by saying, for the audience, I'm the least qualified member of this board to be speaking to technicalities. I'm a new member. These folks are very experienced and spent many, many years on this board. So I won't attempt to speak to the technicalities of this request, but more so the practical kind of components, just zooming out, for a moment on this. And I think I'm actually of the opposite opinion. I think this is a reasonable request. I think, look, like this property is privately owned. The owner is looking to sell it. It will likely be developed. And as Attorney Mead said, whether it's through a subdivision or through, this, I mean, even at the minimum, right, it'd be, two lots, right, practically speaking. So I think when I zoom out and I think about lack of affordability in housing, the need around us for housing, and this is one parcel, right? This conversation needs to happen many, many times over. I think this is a reasonable request, and the difference between two houses on this land and three, I know a lot of folks, abutters especially, they're sad to see this field that they've probably driven by and walked on many, many times, and it's a very peaceful kind of part of town. But the reality is it's going to be sold and it's going to be developed. So I don't see a large material difference between two and three. So I support this. I think it's a reasonable request.
Thank you. So is speaking for me, I'm torn on this quite a bit. Because I feel like we've got to look at this and then make our determination based on the bylaws and our requirements for approval. And I always get lost because we kind of renumbered everything. But that our findings have to be that it's in general compliance with the spirit of the bylaw and it has no adverse effect on the neighborhood. And I thought I had it bookmarked in my copy of the bylaws, and now I can't find the specific language on approval.
711.2.6, Mr. Chair.
There you go.
So, and I printed out a copy here too, Ray, if you want me to just read it. I don't have it up on the screen though.
Well, I've got it here. Let's see if I can get to 711. God. We knew this would happen, by the way, when we reorganized the bylaws. And we would all be lost. Used to be an 8 someplace. I got lost in definitions here.
Page 23, right?
Is it? Because I'm on page 47. Maybe I'm not looking at the right copy of the bylaws.
Mr. Chair, I have them in front of me if you'd like me to read it to you.
Yeah, I do better when I'm looking at it, but actually, let's have Katrina.
You know what? I've got it.
Let's have Katrina put
Share
it
it.
up yeah.
Oh, someone else is sharing. Let's see.
Yeah, it's not 7-Eleven. There you go.
Oop. You see it?
Yes.
I do. I was lost in section 7, and here we are. It's 11.2.6. Good. All right. So, is the specific site an appropriate location for the use? I think so. Will it adversely affect the neighborhood? And I think here's the crux of the matter. And now we're down to something that's subjective. So I'll put that on hold for a second. Will there be an undue nuisance or serious hazard? I don't think so. Will it be in harmony with the general purpose? I think it will. Will it overload public water drainage or other municipal system? And I don't think it will. So I think that we're down to all these things have to be true. Does the use adversely affect the neighborhood? So that's what I'm torn up about. So with that being said, it's a public hearing, as I said before. At this point, I'll invite members of the public to ask questions or make short statements as they desire. In Zoom, you can actually raise your hand and it drops your little window to the top of the screen. Or you can just unmute if you like and state your name and address. That's required by law. And then make a statement or ask a question. So would anybody else here want to make a statement or ask a question? And I'm looking around. I see perhaps, oh yeah, Deb Hamilton.
I'm Deb Hamilton. I live at 227 Middle Street. And although I am a member of the planning board, I have recused myself and will not be voting and have not had any conversations with any members of the planning board. I do have several issues that have not really been raised in this. The first and most glaring issue to me is that this is a scenic question. And this piece of property is arguably the most beautiful lots that we will see probably in town ever. 30 years ago, I had a conversation with John Thurlow, and he said this would be the last property he would ever sell. And I think many of us recall that for 10 or 20 years, this was planted with hybrid lilacs. It was an absolute glorious agricultural spot. It's grown corn, it's been hayed, it's now mostly a deer and turkey pasture. But a couple of questions that we've raised, and I don't think I've heard answers to, is whether this is chapter land, whether there is any protection from APR, whether the Mass Heritage Endangered Species line, which goes through this property and will obligate the owners of these lots to do annual turtle surveys, and will have to build according to regulations that the Conservation Commission is in charge of enforcing. I agree with Brian that this is a discretionary decision. And also that in the past, when we've been asked to consider, when the planning board, long before I was on it, was asked to consider reduced frontage lots, it was, as you indicated, because somebody needed a few extra feet for a driveway. It does not grant blanket permission to circumvent zoning. This is a street that every house on it has 200 feet of frontage. To create a third postage stamp lot, to me, seems an egregious interpretation of and flaunting of zoning in this area. I do think that it creates a hardship to the neighbors. It also may create a hardship on the Newburyport water supply. The wetland in back becomes Kelly Brook, which is tributary to the Artichoke Reservoir. And it's a pretty pristine watershed. It flows through my backyard and then through the 22 acres of greenbelt land that someday I'd like to see that trail that Lisa described, that it goes through the back of the property. Perhaps it could come out onto Bachelor Street if it can't come out to Middle Street. But between the wetland parcel to the west and the 22 acres to the east, it is a beautiful, pristine piece of property. My ideal solution would be the 2 lots with a farm road, a trail down the middle. But I think that putting the third postage stamp lot in the middle, I suspect that Mrs. Thurlow will do equally well selling 2 fabulous lots as 3 mat lots by jamming in the third lot. I appreciate the idea of donating the back parcel, and I hope that that is something that will be considered. That would definitely be a great benefit to the town and to the people who love to go through there. That would be lovely. I guess that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Hamilton. Would anybody else care to speak? I saw that there was a Renee Krupansky, who for a while there was not muted.
Sure how to do this. Can you hear me?
I
Yep.
can hear you. If you care to speak, go right ahead. Oh, but you have to tell us where your address. That's part of the.
My name is Renee Krapansky. I live at 10 Spofford Street, Newburyport. I am the daughter of Alan Thurlow, who is the owner, and I am on the trust to this property. The youngest person on your board made the most sense. It's going to be developed. There is no question. This land was properly cared for, and it was beautiful for over 50 years. John Thurlow made sure of it. You all got to enjoy it. You got to go through it. You got to ride your horses on it. You got to do pretty much what you wanted to do with it. It is going to be developed. Whether we put the 3 houses that is proposed, or whether we crowd it in, whether you take the option to have a little bit of room for the horses and the people to go through, that's all up to you. But this land will be developed. It will not be a pass-through. It will have fences if I must. It is private property. People walking on it now are trespassing. You've all had it for 50 years. It was a gift. It was left to my mother as her life insurance policy. She's 85 years old. Are we in the 2nd year now of this fight? She needs to sell the land. It will be sold, whether under her, if she lives long enough, or by me and my sisters. And it will be developed. So you can either decide that what we have worked on and spent a small fortune on is going to be developed, or it will be something entirely different. But it may not be what you want it to be in the end. I think you all don't want it developed at all. And I'm sure that's wonderful. And I agree. And I understand. We need land, but we also need houses. And sometimes people who own something need the money. Thank you.
Very good. Anybody on the planning board want to respond? I will also just say to Ms. Kroponsky and anybody else listening in that the planning board recognizes property owners' rights, and we're not here to stop people from selling their own land. We're trying to do our best to comply with the laws, and if somebody's got a piece of land, it's, we're not here to block sales. We're here to do our best at complying with the law, and the bylaws reflect the will of the people in West Newbury. So it falls upon us to interpret the bylaws and listen to the arguments and make the best decision we can in that spirit. Anybody else care to comment? Very good. I believe, Katrina, please correct me on this. You'd think I'd know all this stuff by heart by now, but I think what we can do now is close the public hearing portion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
before you do that, I guess I would ask one question. I can count. And I just want to know before you move forward, if anything that either Ms. Bardine or Mr. Murphy have heard would change their position that they pretty adamantly stated 15 minutes ago. And if not, then I would ask to be recognized again.
Well, you can certainly be recognized again. What I was about to say was that if I remember correctly how this works, we can close the public hearing portion, but still have discussion amongst the board members. But if you'd like the public hearing to stay open while you make your statement, I have no objection to that.
No, you can close the public hearing so long as different boards do it differently. I just wanted to make sure I could still participate once you closed your public hearing.
Oh, absolutely. But I have no objection to delaying the closure of the public hearing portion of this discussion. Anybody on the planning board want to weigh in on this? No, then I'll move to close the public.
Right.
Yes, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, there may be some other comment. What I'll say now, I'd say after we close the hearing. What I don't understand, and I think you've heard that one of my concerns here is we have, you've got 3 lots and it's the reduced frontage. Why didn't you consider a common driveway for at least 2 of the lots? That would drop the street openings from 3 to 2.
Because it's not something that the client wanted to do.
Well, that's disappointing. So, okay, thank you.
And along those same lines, if there had been some way to have a trail easement connect from the back to Middle Street, perhaps along the, I guess it would be the westerly southwest property line, where there is a designation anyway there. I think what is that? It's a no-cut buffer.
There are wetlands down there. It'd be wet.
There are.
I'd be able to see a compelling public benefit. That would have helped me a great deal, but all right. Well, we'll continue this discussion. I'm not shutting down the discussion. But I'm going to move that we close the public hearing portion of this discussion.
Second.
I have a second from Ann Bardine. All those in favor of the motion, Ray Cook, aye.
Tim Cronin, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
And Ted
Hammond, aye.
somewhere along the lines with the whole COVID thing, it was stated that when we take a vote with the Zoom meeting thing, that you have to state your name and then state whether it's aye or nay. So,
Ted
right.
Hammond, aye, with you.
Even though
I
it
don't know
seems,
what I vote on and what I don't vote on these days, so I guess by default I'll just vote on everything.
No. No, you're definitely
Go for it.
included in this one. No. All right. So the public hearing portion of this is now closed. And that brings us to further discussion. And go ahead, attorney.
So my question is, I just heard from Mr. Murphy. I think that he would prefer to have less openings. I get that. And so nothing that's been said has changed his mind. And I guess the question would go to Ms. Bardine if she had any comments relative to that.
No is the short answer to your question. I'll just say to Ray, the 5 elements we were just looking at, B was the one that was not more detrimental to the neighborhood, but D was more about the spirit of the bylaw. And I get tripped up on that too, because I'm looking at the spirit of this part of the bylaw, which is where I sort of hang my hat to say, okay, 400 feet doesn't mean 2 + 1 + 1. The spirit of the reduced frontage is, to me, and I think historically for this board, to attempt to regularize situations where where you're missing a few feet, or where there are these special conditions that were
You got 350 feet.
yeah, some of which were enumerated earlier, where there are other special circumstances on the land, but to use it as a way to essentially circumvent zoning and the expectations of people in the zone, not just along that stretch of one street, that 200 feet of frontage is what's required. I believe that's to be the spirit of the bylaw. So I get tripped up on both of those elements, 2 out of the 5.
Right.
Yeah.
But the bylaw doesn't say that, right? And in fact, it has provisions for not having 2 right next to each other with reduced frontage, right? So it doesn't say that. But I guess I hear what you're saying.
No, I know. We've
you
had
know,
these conversations. Yeah.
We disagree.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
right.
think
Yeah.
that the bylaw needs to be cleaned up if that's the way it is, because the bylaw is there to be used. And if your collective opinion, or at least several of your opinion, is that there are certain things in the bylaw that aren't specifically stated, but are more the spirit of the bylaw, it should say that. It doesn't say that, you can't use it to divide lots, because in fact, you can. You may decide that it's not appropriate and that it doesn't meet your the criteria as you see it. But I don't think that the bylaw is clear on that. With that, Mr. Chair, I would say to you that I would request the applicant would request to withdraw without prejudice both the scenic road special permit and the reduced frontage special permit, given that I believe that if we pressed it, the votes would not be present.
I hear you. Thank you. For those people who aren't familiar with it, and again, for my own sake, to make sure I got this right, and we have experienced people who know, to say withdraw without prejudice, if we grant this, if the planning board grants this, that means that the applicant is free to return with this proposal or another application whenever they want to, as opposed to withdraw with prejudice, which means you have to stay away for a while. Have I got that right, Katrina? Have I got that right, Tim?
Yes. Well put, Ray.
Okay, very good. So at this point, the applicant, through the representative, is requesting to withdraw without prejudice this application. I'll make that as a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Murphy. Under discussion, is there discussion? And again, this is discussion on the applicant's request to withdraw the application without prejudice. Any discussion about this? I'm kind of looking through here. Ted, Tim.
Ray, did you
Yeah.
make the original motion?
Excuse me?
Did you make the original motion that Attorney Mead requested?
Yes.
The motion to withdraw without prejudice?
Yep.
Yes. When you
Okay.
said the original motion, I wonder if we were going back many meetings ago. Right. Okay, once again, I'm just going to survey the planning board, the voting planning board members, and Brian, Tim, Ted. Any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, then all those in favor of granting the applicant's desire to withdraw without prejudice, Ray Cook, aye.
Tim Cronin, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Ted,
I need,
aye.
and Ann, did you say your?
I did, yes. Ann Bardine and I, sorry.
Okay. So it's unanimous. So I just want to say, speaking for myself, that I appreciate everybody's discussion. It was polite, it was direct, it raised issues of concern. Everybody seemed respectful of everybody else. I appreciate that very much. With that, then I will move to close the public hearing. Was closed. I will make a motion to close this special permit request.
I think, Mr. Chair, I think you're done. You've done everything that you need to
done.
do on this application. You
Yeah,
closed the
okay.
public hearing and
Thanks.
you took a vote. And I'm going to say thank you very much. And hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Well,
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you very
Appreciate it.
much. Yeah, I felt like I was at the beginning of White Christmas, where the general's trying to figure out how to get off the stage.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
All right. So anybody who's listening in, you're welcome to keep listening in. The next item on the agenda is discussion of the MBTA Communities Overlay District, the maximum development area, site plan review, and next steps. And I'll kick things off. Oh, yeah,
Right.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, I think the next item, if they're waiting, we should do this. This could be a lengthy discussion that we're going to have.
Oh, which one?
Number
You're
4,
talking about the
29 Pleasant Street.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's fine. Thank you, Brian.
I think I saw some name.
Yeah, well, thanks for helping me be polite with this. Yeah. All right, so yeah, let's open that up then. So this is a pre-application discussion, which means that it's nothing formal here, but getting a heads up regarding a reduced frontage lot and common driveway proposed at 29 Pleasant Street. And it looks like we have somebody here named Jay Tilton. Have I got that right?
Yes, it's John Tilton. Thank you.
John.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Haven't had dinner yet, so I can.
No, well, yeah. If you know about MBTA, you know that could take
I
a
know.
while too. Yeah.
Well, go right ahead then.
Okay, thank you. For the record, my name is John Tilton from Williams and Sparages Engineering. I'm representing Mary Ellen Russo and Matthew George. They're on the screen. They just waved away there. So our attorney, Jeff Rolls, had spoken to Katrina last week about they own property 29 Pleasant Street, about subdividing into 2 parcels. And Katrina recommended that we come in for informal discussion to tell you, to kind of show you what we were thinking, what we'd like to do here. So Katrina, can I share my screen with you?
Oh, go ahead. I was ready to share it if your internet isn't working well at home.
Yeah, I'm actually at work, so I can bring it up.
Oh, okay. Let me know if you have any problems sharing.
Okay, it's not, let's see.
Oh, it's a big wooded lot.
some of it.
There. Yep, we can see it.
Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay, good. I'm going to go to this one here, actually. All right, can you see that one here?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a lot. This is 29 Pleasant Street. The green area is the property
Can
line.
you zoom in on that a little bit, please?
Yeah, let me give me a second here.
Oh, we lost.
Is that better?
Actually, you know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to steal the screen.
There we
real
go.
quick.
It's better. Getting better.
Let me, I'm going to steal the screen real quick and then I'll give it right back to you.
Okay. Okay, good.
That's very clear.
I got
That-
that. Yes, thank
That
you.
much better?
Okay, perfect. Yeah,
And yeah, and you see where this is. We got that convoluted intersection up against Main Street with Pleasant and Harrison. And this is just before the Pleasant Street sort of bifurcates.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep,
correct.
got it.
one large house near the back.
Right.
Yep, okay. Go
Yeah.
ahead. I'm gonna
Okay.
stop sharing. We'll go back to your presentation.
Okay. Right. See my screen? You can see my screen?
Not yet.
But the share, okay.
Share should be at the bottom of your Zoom.
Yeah,
thing.
okay. Share that one.
There you go.
Yep.
Okay, good. Yeah, so this is the green is it's a property, is 113 up here, Main Street, and the existing home here. Okay, what I'm going to show you now, here is the aerial of the property. So again, yellow outlines what they own, the property in here, existing house, this existing driveway here. Little white areas here are the edge of the wetland BBW that we flagged last summer. And what we're proposing is a new lot line to divide into two separate lots right here. And to access that off a proposed common driveway with a little driveway branch off right here. And here's the proposed house with the septic system here. Reduced frontage would be up front here. This piece right here, reduce it to 100, it's about 107 feet we're proposing right there. So then I go to,
What's the overall length of the existing frontage before a division would take place?
yeah, it is, let's see if I can get that. So the total, I did a little chart over here. So if we,
It looks like it's on the order of 500 or 600 feet.
yeah, so the lot one would be 462 and lot two would be 107. So we have
Yes,
about 570 feet, right?
right, okay.
Okay. So, and this is the plan we kind of put together here. So this is the existing house, the existing driveway. Here's where we'd like to come off that driveway with use this as a common driveway, access the property here. We're showing house associated grading, septic up here. We're showing some white pines here for a little privacy. There's this existing home right here in this area here. And I want to go back to,
Since this is informal, I feel free to interrupt you.
sure, go ahead.
So, going back to that kind of proposed plan that you had, I mean,
Yeah.
the existing lot has, as you said, probably between 550 and 600 feet of existing frontage.
Right.
You could propose a different way of dividing the lot, have two lots with the proper frontage, but to do so would mean punching through a different driveway entrance and having two access points.
That's correct. So the photo here shows their existing driveway.
Yeah.
It's very good looking. It's well maintained. It's in good shape. If we had to, and we did a plan here for a separate driveways, which is this plan here, we'd have to remove the middle driveway and create two new driveways in this manner here. So one driveway here with our frontage here, and a second driveway with our frontage here. So we
I
just
will point out that if you're kids with remote control cars, those look like excellent side-by-side speedway procedures.
too.
But
Right.
I guess I'm unclear. In this parallel, lot two still is not legal frontage. Is that correct?
That's right.
So
Right.
it doesn't matter.
No, this doesn't make any difference. It looks to me like the reason the driveway is where it is because it's wet on both sides.
Wetlands.
Otherwise, this would be much easier to subdivide, but you'd be having to go through wetlands for one of the
Right.
frontage.
So the lot line we had right about here. So we had to squeeze in right here, and we probably a little bit of wetland filling here, but this is 110 feet here. So right there, we had to bump that over even more, this lot line, or have an easement through, this property here.
But this doesn't solve the issue that Ray brought up. This is just sort of a theoretical exercise.
Right.
Well,
In other words, you have
In
enough.
this case, they would not need a common drive special permit. They just need a reduced frontage special permit.
Right, but it's kind of silly, isn't it?
Right.
yeah, I know, but I guess if they were to move and make it legal, the lot line would be running through the wetlands.
Yes.
Then we could still do the common driveway. However, we have to be assured that there's reasonable access that could be made through the wetlands.
Right.
Remember, this is we did this on with
Yes.
Crane Neck,
Yes.
God help us. Yes, we did.
and I'm uncomfortable having to squeeze that in, the reduced frontage. I'm also, it jumps out at me that the abutter there may be not very happy about that.
That's right. It's right there.
And that is, I'm telling you that you probably, I don't know if you were listening to the discussion we just had. That was an ongoing hearing for 5 months. That abutters' comments place great weight on reduced frontage applications.
Yeah, I would think here, and again, this is an informal discussion, right?
Yeah,
Right.
we're trying to give them some pointers if,
Yeah, so
to-
I mean, the access question is necessary. If you take a look at what would be the northern edge here to the lower left of the screen is being shown, you see that there's land there that's not wet.
Right.
If I recall properly, if you have access onto the lot,
Onto the lot, not to the buildable portion. You're right.
yes, then that qualifies as access.
Mhm.
Yeah, we've gone that way in the past.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm real happy with it, but I'm just trying to remember things to the best of my ability. So I guess what I'm saying here is that the applicant could propose 2 lots which comply and wouldn't need a reduced frontage special permit.
And then you'd be looking for a common driveway with an easement onto the one over
Yeah.
one, lot, right?
Correct. That's
Yes, and to my eye, of course you want to do a common driveway and not these other 2
Right.
things, like the one in front of us.
Mhm.
The one I'm showing here is just, conventional subdivision. Obviously we want to do
Yeah.
that because,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah.
This makes-
So, I mean, so I think from another way of proposing this is to propose the common driveway and an easement as opposed to a reduced frontage lot, right?
Yep, I like that better.
Yes.
Okay.
The
Yeah, I
common
mean-
driveway does make a lot of sense. Just have the one
Oh, yeah,
entrance there
it's-
for
it's a
2 homes. Yeah, it's
situation-
kind of a no-brainer. Yeah.
Yeah, where it really does.
Right. Okay, so they prefer a,
Conforming frontage.
How much
Frontage,
frontage do you
right.
need here? Are we, what,
150, isn't it?
150, this is C, isn't it?
C
yeah,
district.
need 150, what puts us over here, probably.
Yeah, just somewhere.
yeah, I mean,
The reduced frontage opens up a lot of other discussion.
Okay,
And
Yes.
if you have plenty of frontage here to avoid doing that.
right, okay.
yeah, look at that. If I'm just looking at your numbers there, I'm seeing 82 and 25, right? That gets me 107. And then it looks like, what do I got there? 44?
They're 40, yeah.
Yeah,
44. So there's your 150 right there. I
right.
mean, you barely have to remove that line at all.
Yeah, we put it right here. We put an angle in it, so we could actually get a driveway, but a little bit of filling, but
No,
not
we
something.
don't need the driveway.
No,
just-
no,
Just
No.
the
I
frontage.
know, right, I understand, right. If we had two driveways, but,
How wide is the
No, what
driveway
I'm
today?
saying here, and just to be, you probably already got this, forgive me if I'm being redundant. Instead of requesting 2 different special permits, I think you can just change that line a little bit, and then you're only requesting one special permit, right?
Correct.
I say this, again, this is informal because it's not the planning board's, it's not our, we're not charged with helping applicants find the right way to do things or anything. Like, it's not for us to tell you what to do. I'm just saying from my experience that yeah, if the fewer special permits you request, the better off everybody is, I think. I don't know if anybody else wants to
No,
weigh in.
well said.
I agree.
I would like to clarify, how wide is the current driveway?
So it's at its minimum, it's 12 feet wide. So we'd be asking for waivers on that. We could make it wider. We'd rather not.
You're
That's
gonna
the
have to,
sort of,
That should be plenty.
that's the sort of thing
you
where,
gotta get a fire truck up there. I mean, you've got two houses now. I think we'll be talking about expanding it a bit.
well, the other thing to do too is, you could have an informal discussion with emergency services about this. And
Can I say
sometimes,
something? Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you,
yeah.
Professor. Yes.
No
So
worries.
we did, we,
Go ahead.
Could
we
you
did have
identify?
a fire truck. I'm Mary Ellen Russo. I'm the owner, along with my husband, Matthew George, of 29 Pleasant Street. We did actually have a fire truck come in. We hosted multiple times. We hosted our daughter's wedding a year ago, and they had a fire truck that was turned into a pizza oven. And so the fire truck was there for 4 or 5 hours in the house. Had no problems coming in, turning around, and leaving.
Yeah,
So we
I
can
think
attest to that.
that's good. That's good. And also,
Mhm.
that's entertaining. But
Yes.
the concern here is if two emergency vehicles have to pass each other, it's easy to imagine if there is a fire and you got an
Mhm.
ambulance trying to get out at the same time as a new truck is coming in. But one of the things that I've done is to reinforce the grass on both sides so that vehicles could pass and drive over the grass and not get stuck. But again, it's the sort of thing where somewhere along the line, we have to make sure that the proposed common driveway is safe.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we could have the discussion with the fire department, fire chief, and we dealt with the past where if it's 12 feet, we might put pea stone 6 by 4 feet to get by without paving it, and so
Yeah.
it's kind of natural.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also, there's kind of reinforced earth that grass can grow up through as
Right.
well. That's
Right.
drivable.
Okay.
Just had a question about what's the house next door, that would be on the right is we're looking at I was just wondering how close that structure is to,
Oh, it's right there.
is it?
I did want to point out we actually have access. There is a 30-foot wide
Oh.
easement right here. That they have rights to access the property this way, but we didn't want to do that to this homeowner. It's registered land, so it's and the driveway comes up through here. But Mary Ellen and both Matthew didn't want to entertain that. So you can see it right here. So they have a right to up this driveway and then go right through. But it's something that they themselves didn't want entertained at the time. So I'm going to open up this
That's
one.
interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah, you can see the
kind of close, but
existing
not that
house
close.
there.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah, there's some natural, yeah.
Right.
It's
So
140.
yeah, let me see. It's closer to that. It's 140 feet from the corner house to
Yeah,
this is the house here. This is like
sure.
might be I'm not sure what this is.
Oh, that's the house over there.
Yeah, it's the house right here, right? So
That's the garage, I think.
That's like he has like a little
Oh,
barn, like a
that's-
big
that's-
shed with his
That's a
ducks.
swimming pool.
Yeah.
yeah,
what it
That's a swimming pool.
yeah, right. So-
Okay.
Yeah, with all his ducks.
Oh, is
Now,
that right?
yeah. Here's
Brian,
the driveway here.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
I think, Brian, was it you who commented on how it's wooded now, but there's some serious regrading happening, so that those woods are going to be goners, I think, if the regrading happens.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
it's a thing we can't by making it legal lot, we don't have the right to condition it, but you would hope that as a good neighbor, they would take the,
Right, but that's, yeah.
do the right thing. Yeah.
Can you see how that's a pool?
Mhm.
Yeah, no question, right?
I
Good
see.
eye. Yeah,
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the semi truck.
that's a truck, yeah. Mm.
We don't know.
But that's
Huh.
none of our business.
No,
Well.
It blocks the view of the pool.
Yeah.
it does. It's a privacy fence.
All right. Anything else?
Oh, just on the location of the house, I was just wondering, did you look at flipping the location of the septic, in the house, just set the house back further? I know that's further from the road, but it might be further from that other home.
Yeah, we can. The septic, unfortunately, we how many perk tests? We did?
Okay. Yeah, I know it's
Bunch.
wet back there.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was hard. We tried. I wanted to put the house up here, but it didn't work. So
Okay.
so we can maybe slide this house a little forward and farther away from the lot line, but it's tight here with some of the
Yeah,
grading.
with the grading. Yep. Yep, I
Correct.
saw that. Okay.
Well,
Thank you.
the other thing too is you want to make sure that you're stating that this is roughly where the house will be, in this area. The special permit isn't predicated on knowing exactly what the house is. We have to make our decisions based on other things. So, yeah, I'm looking at Google Maps, and yeah, I mean your neighbors cleared off quite a lot of the woodlands for their house.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any other questions for us?
I don't, but that was helpful tonight because less special permits works for me.
This is why we like people to come in and talk early.
Yes.
Thank you.
And
Yes,
and
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yep. And the wedding went off great.
It was awesome. Yes.
Yeah.
It was great, except for what,
Fantastic.
a week later, we had the fire department back because our alarm went off.
Yeah, I was installing a ring alarm. And,
Oh dear.
said it was in test. It said it was in test mode, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
So
So we had a bunch of the guys,
You
yeah,
don't have to burn all the leftover candles at one time. You just-
it was crazy. Yeah. But thank you. This was very helpful.
yes, thanks so
Good.
much.
All right,
Thank
very
you.
good.
Good. Take
Yeah.
care.
Have a good evening.
Have a good night.
Good
Have a
night.
good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Good luck with the MBTA stuff.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
I
thanks.
don't envy you.
Well, it is what it is.
It is.
Good night.
All right. Thank you, guys. I think that went exactly the way those things are supposed to go, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Oh,
so.
all right. So jumping back, an agenda item takes us to the MBTA. And specific topics are the maximum development area. We've spoken about that before. We're going to wait on that until we take a vote on which lot to put forward to the town for the overlay district. And then I think now's the time. Tim and Katrina were working back and forth a little bit on the site plan review language. And Tim, now that we're all together and it's an open hearing, maybe you could summarize it for us. I know I'm springing this on you, but
Oh.
you and Katrina got together and sort of decided that we probably shouldn't have any language about rejection in here.
Well, what happened was the state actually issued the emergency guidelines, and they took, I'm sorry, the emergency regulations, and they took the guidelines that were established previously and pretty much copied a lot of them over to the emergency regulations. And as emergency regulations, they go into effect, as soon as they're adopted. And then there's, as you may know, a process where the state reviews comments on the regulations, and they may update them further. So there may be some additional changes to the regulations themselves. But of note that the regulations actually have a standard in them for site plan review, and something specific on rejection. And I don't have that up, Ray, in front of me. I don't know if Katrina has it handy. But I just wanted to point folks to that section because it goes back to the concern that I previously articulated, which is we don't want to have a standard that's different, in our bylaw than what the regulations, might say, or the
That's the
the
Brian
state
Murphy
law says.
principle.
The
There you
Brian
go.
Murphy principle. Brian Murphy.
It is, it
principle.
is.
All
It
right.
is the Brian Murphy principle. And
Yes.
I'm just wondering, can we just not have it in ours, or can we refer to the state language, or do we? I'm hesitant to just copy the state language, because if they change it, then we have to
Right.
change it.
I think that's what Tim's saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so what we talked about the last time was a reference to maybe rejected in accordance with applicable law, something like that. So we don't say what the particular standard is within the bylaw, or we just stay silent on it. And what I thought, Katrina, is we would run this by town council. And I don't know if you've had a chance to get them
Yes,
to
I
weigh.
did, and I actually included town council's email, I think, in the attachments.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
And so the board, last week, I sent what I had come up with. I looked at all of the information that we've had, the feedback from EOHLC, from the Attorney General, from our own town council. I came up with a new, very simplified proposed language for a site plan denial, because it sounds to me, and I haven't asked the board, but it sounds to me like the board really wanted denial language in there. Because we know we're not supposed to have denial language, but if you wanted it, that's why the consultant worked so hard. Am I correct? That you wanted some kind of denial language?
No, I think I'm speaking for myself. I think the consultant put that in there as their
Interesting.
assessment of what the grounds for denial was. I don't remember a lot of discussion by the board on that.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
just
mean,
assumed this
that's
board
how,
wanted
that's how,
denial language.
oh, no, it came to us because it was part of the proposed bylaw.
Yep.
Okay.
And as we were going through the bylaw, we came across that, and then that made us think, well, we already have language for
Right.
denying. And so then that's how it all got going.
So I came up with a very simplified denial language, and Angus gave me permission to send it to town council again. And it is clear from her email that she is totally against including this denial language. She said who at EOHLC has indicated the denial language would be okay. And so she said, I recommend seeking guidance from the AG and EOHLC as to the specific language, but we've already done that. And we've received feedback from both of them that they really didn't like it, although EOHLC, I guess, just approved it and was kind of silent on it, and then just circled areas that could be a problem. So we've received negative feedback on it. From town council, it's obvious they do not want this denial language. So I would say that we just remove it. I did look at other towns' site plan sections too, and I couldn't find one that included any denial language.
So, are you saying that we, let me just throw this up here. Are you saying that we not even say that we can reject the site plan if the application is incomplete, just not have it?
Right. I think that goes without saying. If they come in and they don't submit something, I suppose we could just include that as the most simple form of denial. You have to meet the application requirements. You have to pay your fee. And then just leave it at that. But the under number 2, we cannot include anything like that.
And you're muted.
Sorry, I just realized that. So Tim, would you think that, I mean, it seems to me that there's no harm in leaving number 1 in. But Tim, would it be your advice that there could be a number 2 if it says something like, um, you know, for any other reason permitted by statute?
Yeah, consistent with something like consistent
Something
with
like that.
applicable law and regulation. Yeah.
Yeah, because that way, if they clarify, then we will have affirmatively signed up for whatever clarification they make. I don't know.
Yeah, at this point, it doesn't matter to me. Whatever is gonna go through the most smoothly is fine with me. I think we're getting hung
Yeah,
up
so
on something here.
did town council opine that what Tim just suggested should not be in there, or I just wanted to be clear?
Right. Well, it sounds like Tim just mentioned some different language, but the problem
No, that's
here,
the language I gave you in the email.
oh, in the email, and
Yeah,
that was the
yeah.
language from the Prudential standard for site plan, right? From that
No.
case.
No,
No, it's language that after the last meeting, hopefully I sent you an email. I thought I did. And I said, let's run this language by town council. I can dig it up, Katrina.
No, yes, and we did. We looked at it. Now I'm trying to think.
So this would have been in the last 10
It was
days.
right after the last meeting. It was the day
Yeah,
after the
right.
last meeting.
Yep.
Right, and I believe I looked at it, and I forget the specifics, but I looked at it, and it definitely wouldn't pass muster.
Well,
by saying it had to follow applicable statute, how could that not? I don't get that. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it surprises me, but Katrina's on the front line here and has been speaking to these attorneys.
Let me
and
see if I can find it.
I think it was the Prudential stuff they didn't like, whatever all those strange words were. Intractable, insoluble, mediation, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I remember that. I didn't know if there was this subsequent follow-up. She said,
I think there was
don't put anything in. Yeah.
Well, a couple of emails have gone back and forth in the background, and because we were being super careful not to violate any public meeting requirements, we
Yeah.
didn't have any discussions on them.
Sure,
So that's,
no problem.
yeah. So I don't know. At this point, I'm like, I'd say just leave out the whole Roman numeral III here and just skip it. It doesn't need to be in the bylaw. We all
Oh, okay, so I just found Tim's, so number 2 says the planning board may reject the submittal, although proper in form as permitted under applicable law, where the planning board finds the submittal to be deficient. And we're not even defining deficient. So who's defining what deficient is?
No, that's not what I remember, but.
No, this was just Tim looked over things and came up with language that he thought matched what we were talking about at the last meeting.
I see.
Yeah.
Right, and I guess what I'm trying to say is I read it and Angus and I talked about it, and so it's good, it just fails to define properly what is deficient, so it allows the planning board too much power to define what is deficient.
Oh, see, the way I read it is that just means deficient under the laws, the applicable laws. So, well, I think what Tim was proposing was we can reject it according to those things the state has said you can reject it for. And the deficiency would be referring back to the state's decisions on it, not something that we come up with.
Right.
So I think that all needs to be clearly defined, and then it becomes
And that's why what I'm proposing here is we just leave this out.
So you're proposing
I
leaving
would agree with
numeral
that.
2 out?
Just leave out the what do you call it? Roman numeral III here. Let's just leave it out. We're getting hung up on something that we know is true anyway.
And I think that's the safe way to go, and all those other towns couldn't be wrong.
Oh, they could be.
Well,
All right. We shall see.
Yeah. Don't throw down that gauntlet.
Can you pop the language back up if you have it, Katrina? The what it would look like? Sorry.
Mm.
I was the one who put it up before.
Oh, sorry, Ray. Yeah, if
Yeah,
we
I can
could.
put it up
I just want
again.
to see what it would look like if we so it would say you would take out all of everything under proposed language, so we wouldn't have anything there about rejection of site plan, Ray? That's what you're
So
saying?
what I'm saying,
Okay.
yeah, what I'm proposing here is that for, at least for this round, I mean, right, things can be amended in the future, that we just don't even mention rejection of the site plan.
So this
Okay.
entire page, neither of these options.
Yeah,
Would
Got
stop
it.
with-
that we just, that there was language before this about, accepting and all that kind of stuff. We
Yep.
just, yeah,
Well,
Yep.
so you could include number 1.
no, not even that. Because I mean, we can get all huffy about that if somebody were to come to us without the adequate information. And anybody coming before us would be like, oh, sorry, we'll fix that. I don't see this as we wouldn't be rejecting the site plan. We'd be telling them to, take it back and fill in the missing parts.
True. I guess you could just fail to approve it too.
Yeah, we'd just say, come back in 2 weeks when you've fixed filled in the missing parts here.
Yeah.
So
Again,
does everyone agree that we can just do without any of it? And that's what most towns have.
Yep.
yeah, yes, because it's
Okay.
covered by the regulation now. That's
Right.
that's the thing we got to be careful of. So, I think that would be a good idea just to drop the whole thing.
Okay.
Then we don't have to argue about commas or anything.
No.
So are we saying the entire
No,
rejection?
just this subsection about rejection. Both points 1 and 2. We just not have a subsection triple I.
I think the answer to Ryan's question is yes.
Okay.
No rejection language.
No, nothing.
Yeah,
Okay,
sorry.
I'm fine.
Okay.
All
All right.
right. The
Great, thank
board
you.
has now made a decision on 2 out of 3 questions.
All right. Which one are we missing now?
The one that you can't really decide on until you have your joint meeting with the select board.
Oh, on the minimum development
Development
area.
area.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
that's,
And then did everybody see Katrina's kind of calendar of events, schedule of dates and all that kind of stuff? I thought it was great to have that.
yeah, that's a Katrina calendar mostly though.
Yeah,
I-
well,
it's going to
I'll
be
show up.
difficult keeping it straight. I do have one change already, however. Ian Burns from MVPC pointed out that the April 22nd date for the MBTA pre-town meeting is during April vacation, and we don't want to do that. And so tomorrow, hopefully, I'm having Jen see if the annex is open for either Monday, April 14th, or Wednesday, April 16th. Are any of
and
those dates
the
good or
idea
bad
here
for
is
anyone?
we'll have too many parents that'll be away. Is that the concern?
Well, yeah, most people don't like to have things scheduled on April vacation. I thought this board wouldn't like that either, truthfully.
We
Oh,
don't
well,
care
it depends on whether I'm in my grumpy mood or not.
Well, I'm away that week, but don't do it on my account. No,
Which week are you away?
the 22nd, I'm
Okay,
away.
all right.
Well,
But-
Katrina, I
but
mean, if we can move it so that's not a concern, then let's do it.
Do you think, well, you look at it both ways. If it's vacation week, do people going to be around in town, or I don't know.
That's what she's saying. Don't do it then because
Oh,
it's
So,
not to
right,
do.
and you don't want people complaining, coming to the meetings saying, and then you scheduled it on vacation week, so I couldn't even go.
I see, yeah.
However, the preceding week, the board does have a regular meeting on April 15th. And so we want either Monday or Wednesday of that week, unless the board thinks that by then they'll have most of their hearings done and they can give up that planning board meeting to have the pre-town meeting that night.
Well, we could do it sequentially. I mean, if we have A&Rs and other statutory, deadlines, we could have I don't know, we could have our regular meeting at 6:30 and bang out an hour of stuff and then have the whatever. I don't know. We could
Yeah,
be-
I think that's not a bad idea, and I think that's better actually than, doing a Monday, Tuesday, or Tuesday,
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm fine with that.
I think the original plan was to start at 6:30 for this meeting, but we could start it at 7, the regular time. So 7 o'clock Tuesday, April 15th
There you go.
Suppose.
in the annex. And that's something that MVPC would come and host for us, but we would all be there.
Sounds good.
So do that again, Tuesday, April 15th.
At the annex. And
So
say that will start at 7 p.m. We'll still possibly have the planning board meeting starting at 6 or 6:30 beforehand.
Yeah.
Via
And
Zoom.
we'll decide on that start time, since that'll be our site. We'll know on after the April 1st meeting where we stand on
On
the
deadline.
15th start.
Yeah.
Okay.
And town meeting is it the 28th?
No, it's the first Monday in May this time.
May 5?
Yes. I think so.
Is it?
That's what I have put in my
Right.
calendar. Seemed late to me, but I think I saw that somewhere. I wouldn't have made it up. That all big.
Oh, Cinco de Mayo, what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, really?
Instead of brochures, we'll have,
Yes, it's
chips.
May
and-
5th.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Maybe we can have some sort of food trucks outside.
Mhm.
It always made every year the administration at the University of New Hampshire would get very, very nervous. Cinco de Mayo started approaching.
With exam week.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot that can go wrong and a lot of inappropriate things that can happen,
Here.
especially
So-
when you start Cinco de Mayo around noon.
Did the board look at the strengths and weaknesses matrix that I think
Yes,
you all came up with this last year? I just found it in the computer. That's something that I'll forward to the town manager. So when you have your joint just joint meeting with the select board, they're privy to this too, because basically this is what you did at your last joint meeting.
Yeah, we did that with them. They've seen that, I think.
But this is more thorough. No, they haven't.
Really? Huh.
I think we did that a while ago.
Yeah, we
And
did do it. a while
yeah,
ago.
the
Maybe.
one comment that I had, Katrina, was
Oh yeah,
that,
let me make that change.
yeah, it talks about the Dunn property being under active agricultural use, and it hasn't been for, I don't know, 4 years maybe,
Oh, at least, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
4 or 5 years. Yeah.
Where is that? The top or the bottom?
Good question. I don't have it in front of me.
Well, I can put it in front of you. Because I'm just that kind of guy.
Yeah.
It takes me a second sometimes, though. I'm getting rusty in my
You're
retirement.
you're eventually that kind of guy.
That's right.
Not
That's
see.
right. That's right. Eventually, I'm all kinds of people.
Where's agriculture? I don't even see it.
Was
in
it down the bottom maybe?
Did I change it already?
I don't
Let's
see it.
see.
I don't remember it being in this document, actually.
Oh yeah, still in agricultural use. You see that? Where it
Oh,
says
under other, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just leave other blank. We might come up with some great,
Oh, okay. Way down the bottom.
the very last thing.
Okay, so I'll make a note to remove that. And no one had any comments other than that on that, right?
Nope, looked very familiar. Just
Yeah.
looking for the
Sure
traffic info.
And the traffic study is ongoing. We received our first bill for December, and the fiscal impact study is done. You all received it, and both of those will be discussed at the meeting with the select board, which will be February 12th.
Yep.
February 4th, you will open your public hearing for the ADU, battery storage, and the floodplain. Sam said he would attend that meeting. The ADU language, if you did look at it, is very, very simple now, which is nice. So I don't think there's not going to be a lot of questions on that, because it's basically we are doing what the state is telling us to do.
So we sort of merged into the next agenda item, which is discussing the proposed zoning bylaw amendment.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. So is it the amendments themselves, or just the having of the public hearing that you wanted to talk about?
Well, I figured the board would just want to discuss it, because isn't it a little shocking that it came up so quickly?
No.
Not
Really?
really.
Let's see here. I'm
I mean,
looking
it
at
feels
the,
like we've been over the battery and ADU with Sam multiple times.
Well, the ADU is very much changed now. Do you want me to pull it up on the screen?
yeah, why don't you? I mean, I'm looking for it here. In the packet, what page number are we talking about?
Near the end somewhere, I think.
Oh, you know what? I know where it is. It is not here. It's
Not
if you
in
look at the report. I gave a link.
Oh,
Oh, in the planner's report, that's where it is.
Okay, now I can share this.
Yikes.
Is that
Yikes,
good enough?
indeed.
We can't regulate anything?
Whoa.
This is all it's going to say. Accessory dwelling units in compliance with 40A in CMR 760, CMR 71, protected use accessory dwelling units, period. Everything else is gone. And then down here, accessory dwelling units exceeding floor area may be allowed by special permit from the planning board per section 11.2 of the West Newbury zoning bylaws. That's it.
People
Wow.
want to know what it says.
Yeah, I kind of have a problem with.
We need to
I-
show them the
I
text.
understand the rationale of in case the state law changes, but
Well,
need
this
to
this
include
is the Brian Murphy principle on steroids here.
this is a little much for me, Ray.
So what I could do is create a page explaining what this means. I mean, we're going to have to put up what the state law allows.
Right, but we understand that, but how long is the state law? Why don't we just include it?
Well, they haven't finalized it yet.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah,
We're
February
going to be
2nd.
asking people to vote on something that isn't finalized.
Yeah,
Yeah.
February 2nd is the final date. But what I can tell you is that by the date of the public hearing, we will know exactly what the language is going to be. So maybe during the public hearing, we can make changes to this.
Yeah, I'm of two opinions on this. I mean, it's good to have it right here so people don't have to dig it up. On the other hand, I'm kind of going against Brian Murphy and advocating for the Brian Murphy principle here and just using this language and then, basically saying that go to the state laws on this and we're out of there.
So this is what the wetlands law is like. We
Yeah.
don't have a wetlands bylaw in West Newbury. All we do is we adhere to the Wetlands Act, state law.
All right, so we at least need to have copies of what
Of
the
the
state is
state.
letting us do
We
here.
do, because we're
I
basically,
think
we're asking people to vote on something. And yes, it may be that it must happen, but they are really going to want to know, even for their own information, what's allowed
Yeah.
without having to
Good point. And up on the website, I can have a note, or a link so that people can
link.
learn more about
Yeah,
what the state allows.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep. And
Okay.
then
And so hopefully we will
I'm
have all
not-
of this
not
by
trying
the
to
public hearing.
get too hip on you guys and fake being one of my own students, but you could have one of those little QR code things at town meetings. So people- No, seriously.
Oh.
So people with their smartphones can just
Yeah.
go straight to the state laws on this and see for themselves. They scroll back and forth on their own. If we don't have it printed out on paper.
Well, I think by the time of town meeting, it should be part of the packet as an addendum. I really do. So that people can look at it ahead of time. We don't want people scrolling through their phones at state statutes during the town meeting. It'll go on for
Yeah.
days.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, my
Okay.
recollection is
I
that it's
mean-
not all that different from what we had in terms of dimension.
Providing, yeah, I mean, my
So-
only hesitation is I'd hate to print out 50 pages or something.
No, just put it, if the finance committee puts it in their booklet as an addendum.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, is it?
Oh,
is
I
it-
don't know how long it is. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know.
If it's just a few pages, absolutely. If it turns
Yeah.
out that it's a bunch of pages, then I think we need an executive summary. And then a link to the details.
There you go.
So Katrina, you'll get us something before the February 4th meeting,
Yes.
what in whatever form it's available.
Yeah.
And then the battery storage bylaw, we've been through that a couple times in significant detail.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't think we need to review that now. And then the floodplain overlay district bylaw.
That's just small changes throughout it. If you look through it, the biggest change is that the floodplain administrator is changing from the town planner to the building inspector, I believe. And all of these changes are required by the new changes to the firm, the flood insurance rate map.
Okay. Is that good enough for everybody, other planning board members?
So, sorry, just to go back to the accessory dwelling unit. Usually, there's an explanation too in the book about what's being done here and why. So it's conformity with the state law would be the explanation here, right? All these, because people will say, well, geez, I liked all these, details in here about requiring, residency and, these forms being filed and things like that.
Well,
So,
I mean, if you're talking about at town meeting itself.
yeah, well, in
I-
the materials too, before town meeting, right, where we talked about,
Yeah.
providing an addendum, but that would be the explanation is why all this is being deleted.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
and so on each article, I believe that West Newbury does it this way. Each article afterwards, there's an explanatory note. Do you have that usually?
Yeah.
Yes.
It explains the article. These articles were all done by Sam. I
Yep.
didn't have any input in these because he needed to get them in very fast last week so that
I see.
we
Yeah.
had something that residents that looked at the legal ad that was posted yesterday could view. We needed something. And so he had to submit them very quickly. But
Sure.
they were all done. They're just not in a perfect form, I would say. I would like to see the explanatory note and then the actual article language at the top
Right.
of them. And so is that something that you'd like to see before the public hearing or? Does it
I
matter?
don't know about seeing it, but there should be an explanatory note about why we're doing it this
Definitely.
way, right? Rather than just, here's a copy of the law, but just to
Yeah.
explain that, these other details had to be eliminated because they conflicted, with the law and were superseded by the state law, basically.
Yeah,
Right.
and basically, we don't want to just copy over the state law because then every time there's a change at the state level, we have to go back and change our bylaws.
Right.
So it's more efficient and avoids the possibility of unintended conflicts if we just refer directly to the state law.
Yep.
And just so the board knows too, the select board now that this has been submitted to the town clerk, the select board take it up at their next meeting and they then refer it to the planning board for their public hearing. However, we got to jump on it because we needed to get ads in the paper to meet the deadlines. And so the first ad has already gone in Monday. The second ad will be next Monday. And then the following week will be your public hearing.
Good.
Got it.
All
Thank you.
right. And then again, at town meeting, I expect is in my role as chair to stand up and briefly say things as we determine would be good to say. And then be available for questions. All right, so that's the proposed zoning bylaw amendments. Thank you, Katrina, for that. And then that next agenda item is general business, and we handle minutes.
Right.
Yep. What?
Yeah,
What?
we kind of skipped over the MBTA stuff that we're supposed to talk about.
What did we skip
Ryan's
over?
supposed to give a report.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got a page of notes here, so you'll have to bear
Oh
with
yeah.
me.
Okay. Sorry. Forgive me.
Yeah, it was confusing on the agenda and then on the detail. This is about the housing summit that Merrimack Valley Planning Commission held a couple of weeks ago. I attended. Deb Hamilton was also there. There was an overall decent attendance, about 50 plus people from throughout the region. Several mayors, a number of planning board members from different towns. And this is the 15 towns that MVPC services. Angus was there. Rick Parker, our select board, and members of the Affordable Housing Trust, of which Deb has a hat. She
Right.
was wearing
Here.
2 hats that day.
Karen Holmes, Donna, and Katrina, Elsa Francisconi were all there too.
Yes.
And Rick Parker was there.
Yep. So there was a kind of general discussion. It was really to celebrate all the housing production plans being completed and approved and moving forward. They had a speaker from the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. It was interesting. She didn't really touch on strictly on the MBTA information, which surprised me a little bit. And they had several breakout meetings. And one was quite interesting, and it was organized by a CHAPA representative, which is Citizen Housing and Planning organization. And this woman was Lily Link. And we spoke pretty much about MBTA. And she says it's really all about getting the information out to people so they can hopefully make a good decision. And she said there's several things to keep in mind. And it's to prioritize education and information sharing, focus on the goals, values, and vision. Don't get into the weeds with the numbers. And to lean on partner organizations and community leaders. I asked her about Facebook information. Actually, Ted and I had a discussion a few meetings back about this, and she was not a great proponent of engaging in that route. She said it's often a rabbit hole you're chasing, a lot of naysayers, and said you can try it, but it's hard to end up with feeling there's a positive result with the Facebook in terms of whether we're setting it up or we're setting somebody to kind of provide counterpoint information. So I offer that for whatever it's worth. She suggests that we go to where the people are and putting out information, the usual library, the market, food pantry. She talked about in the summer, it's not going to help us, but if they were starting of, sports leagues, if we could get some volunteers to hand out information. She liked mailers, the old-fashioned stuff, but mailers do reach houses. And also to find residents who will advocate for what we're trying to pass here with MBTA. So really the questions I have for the board and is where do we go now? And we have a meeting with the select board on the 12th, but that's the 12th, and then we're supposed to have public hearings not far after that. Should I write to Wendy and Angus and kind of ask the same question? Should Christina speak with Angus? And I'm sure she has in some regard, but I'm not trying to add to her workload. And really trying to determine here, have some discussion with the board tonight on level of involvement. I feel that we're on a slippery slope here, and when we sit with the select board, make a decision on the site, and then we're going to be talking, well, okay, well, how do we get this information out to people in 2 weeks? So if the March 4th date, if that was in my mind, if that's correct for the public hearing, there's not a lot of time there. So I would just like some thoughts tonight from you. And Deb, maybe if you want to add some other things about that summit meeting as well.
Yeah, I was taken with what she had to say about avoiding negativity and getting to people early on. I mean, we got accused in talking about MBTA with springing it on people. And she made a big point about not fighting change, but realizing that it's going to come, and that if everybody can be more productive in the conversation, you can do better. And yes, made a big point about using getting face to face with people, one-on-one, in order to get people to help. Yeah, it was a very good seminar. And she did suggest using town mailings to get to people. Everybody gets a tax bill or a water bill or the Sage newsletters. We could do a better job of reaching out to people through mailings that are sent by the town anyway. Just got my dog license, and opportunities like that, anything that goes out to large numbers of people. So try to share information and engage people.
Quick question. Are we able to tap in? I know we have a listserv, an email list for the town, anyone that's opted in to that. Are we able to tap into that to share information like this?
I would say yes. It's a, I want to know who's going to drive the bus here, basically.
Yeah.
And I think, yes, Ted, that will be available, but who's going to be designated to do that?
To drive the bus on like what I would call the marketing strategy of this campaign, if you will.
Yeah.
I'd gladly volunteer for that. Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear.
Great.
Yeah, and I think going to the social media, I mean, I agree. It's a slippery slope, and if you post something like this on Facebook, I mean, the reality is, if people want to talk about it on social media, even if they get a physical mailer in the mail, someone's likely to take a picture of it and open up a conversation. If they want to go that route on social media, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
I do think there's a way. I'd have to confirm this, but I do think there might be a way to post through like community leaders, for example, the folks that host like the West Newbury News Group, to cite an example there, to post in a way where you actually disable comments, that would, in a way, get the message out there. However, try to mitigate to the degree that we can the amount of kind of negativity that gets posted right in the comments below it, and people get caught up in that kind of the narrative. So I don't know, just a thought there. I can look more into that, but I'd be happy to run point on thinking through strategies and ways to kind of get this education out to people as quickly and as clearly as possible.
Yeah, I'll also say that when it comes to Facebook, I think that can quickly deteriorate. And if somebody wants to spend the time like every evening, like a moderator, and provide calm and respectful rebuttals to the negative comments that show up there, it could be done, but that's a huge job.
Yeah.
And it's tiresome. And then I think, okay, well, you know, you could have an information session at the library.
Right.
But the public hearing is kind of the information
Yeah.
session, right? So it's hard to know. I mean, you know, you show up at the food mart at 6 o'clock in the morning and hang out there for a few hours with the table or something. But
Is there a place to have like a coffee hour? You could have a coffee hour each week even, or at a set time, even on the weekend, where if anyone is interested, they could stop by.
But you know, I think you get the usual suspects. We've had a bunch of public meetings along the course of this MBTA thing.
Yeah.
You get the same crew over and over and over again. I
Yeah.
think getting some information that we push instead of trying to get people to come to events, you know, that's too hard for people with young children or people who don't drive at night or people who have a long commute. They're just not going to do it. So I think I like the idea of being able to post on some of these sites if comments can be disabled. I don't think we want to get into trying to moderate them. That's not really our job. But
Yeah.
if instead of a paper flyer, if the way you receive flyer type information is on those sites, then you should see, even if it's an image of the flyer, you know? And I think it should be everywhere. I think it should be at the library. It could somehow be, I don't know if it can go through the schools. You know, we don't, such a small town, we don't have the same kinds of gathering places. It's not like we can get, you know, 25 clergy people and 65 coaches to talk about it. You know, we have very limited outlets for this stuff. We've missed the census mailing. We've missed the tax bill.
Yeah.
You know, the town isn't going to want to pay, I'm afraid, for a mailing that's a standalone mailing. Maybe through CHAPA or some of these other outfits, MVLC, there's grant money available for postage, but we're going to have to, I think it's great if Ted wants to take that on.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I think
remember, we don't
direct
have
mail, that was
anything
going to
to
be one of
send
my
with.
questions. Direct mail is if we hired someone to do the printing and the distribution and all of that, it's actually quite expensive.
It is quite expensive.
So depending on funding, that was going to be my
but
question. if we
the
could pull that
select
off.
board actually might have money for it, though.
Well, they might, but we need to, I mean, that's something that needs to be determined pretty quickly. You can have the best flyer in the world if you can't get it in front of people.
Yeah.
What's the date where we need to deliver this to people by?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, are we still talking about a March 4th public hearing,
Yeah, I mean,
or
because
has that drifted?
Well, that's 2 months before town meeting. Is that too far?
I personally think it is, but for some reason Angus was pounding the table way back that, no, we got to, in case we have to change things. I think it's too early. But
Right, because
I mean, I
usually you can
appreciate the
prove
point
it.
that if you're actually having a public hearing on something, right? And there's two ways of doing it. One is you're just giving people information, and the other is you're actually requesting their input and willing to make changes based on the public hearing. So it's important, whichever way it's done, you got to be very clear to people ahead of time which way it is. Because otherwise people are saying, oh, they're just going through the motions. They're not really listening to us. Then that goes negative politically really quick.
Well, it is a zoning bylaw, so we do need a public hearing.
Yeah.
The
Maybe,
traditional kind,
yeah,
but do we want a public information meeting and then a public hearing? That seems kind of overkill.
Exactly. Yeah, I see what Angus is saying about not having it too close to town meeting because you might need to make a change.
But we just hear town meeting is May 5th. I mean,
yeah, if it's 2
come on.
months, that's a lot.
It's going to fall off people's radar.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think you're right, actually, about that.
Well, let me, sorry, I don't want to be hogging the audio.
No, go.
Would you mind if I just wrote a little note to Angus and Wendy and just kind of recap this, give them something to think towards on this February 12th? I will mention Ted's willingness if you don't
Yeah, I
mind.
was just gonna say, yeah, include Katrina and Ted.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, could include both of them, and maybe they can have a little side discussion
Yeah.
beforehand. I have some time I can devote to it. I don't have a ton. I'm away at the end of February again, but I do have some
Well,
time.
I mean, maybe you could kind of put out these feelers, and then at our next meeting, when is our next meeting?
Before.
Feb 4th.
Yeah.
February
See
4th.
if we hear something. Okay, maybe that's a. I just wanted
To
some
see if it would be,
discussion.
if it would be smart to adjust the schedule.
Now,
Yes.
here's another thought too, Ray. What is this the kind of public hearing that we can open and keep open? Like maybe we devote 20 minutes of 4 meetings to the public hearing on this matter or something. So there's kind of like no excuse. It's not only a one-time thing. You could, weigh in on it and I don't know,
Well,
run changes by
you
people or.
you remember what happened last year? We had tremendous surge of interest when the word got out via Facebook, etc. We had the hearing room was filled. We had 40 people on Zoom.
Mhm.
So,
Maybe
and we had to continue the hearing.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think that's also been a concern of Angus's, that we may have,
Never end.
Well, it might go into a couple of public hearings and we got to close down. We have to be able to close the public hearing far enough in advance of town meeting to implement any changes or whatever.
So what is that date?
well, I'm not sure what changes other than if we somehow change the site we all just picked. We're not going to change the bylaw. The bylaw is the bylaw.
Yeah,
The
so maybe
state,
Well,
the
no,
state has told us we
it's a
have to.
proposed bylaw. The public hearing is on the proposed bylaw, right?
Yeah.
If you needed to adjust a comma or something, well, no, not that, but I don't know, the required number of bicycle parking spaces and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Those details are in there.
But this is kind of a fork in the road. Is it that kind of public hearing, or as Ted says, is this more of a get out the vote, rah, 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 we're all behind
No,
this?
well, I interpret the law as being, it's a public hearing where you get input from the public. And if it's deemed that it's more likely the bylaw is going to pass if you make some changes to it, that you got time to make those changes.
So that's the key date, is what's the drop dead
Right.
date and changes, right? And then
Especially if you have
from
to,
there.
sorry, Ann.
No, yeah, I think we agree.
Yeah, especially if you have to have multiple meetings, right? So, which is what you brought up. So maybe, that's a good thought, to have this on the agenda for a couple of meetings or at least plan to do that. I'm always about the council review, but this is an extensive bylaw. And so I do want to have, council review it before we finalize it. I think it would be a mistake not to do that. The other one got pared down so much, the ADU, that there's not much to review there. But this one is very lengthy and has a lot of detail in it.
Well, and I mean, in a sense, we've already been reviewing key points with council. So that's site plan review stuff.
Yeah, I'm surprised town council.
Yeah, just on the
hasn't looked
site plan
at it.
review, right? Has town council looked through the whole bylaw?
No one knows the answer to that?
I don't believe
Here
so.
before?
I think
Okay.
Really?
I don't
Yeah.
think we had them. I don't believe we had them do it.
It's
I
6 or
think
8
you're right,
months.
Brian. I think there was so much uncertainty and, Dylan was still making updates and things like that. So, yeah, I don't think
I'm
we did.
sure that they're going to come up with things that they don't like. Yeah, there may be some hard decisions for us.
It's more the ones that they think are really problematic, not necessarily the ones that are they don't like.
Well,
I hear you.
I'll put that in the note.
Yeah.
But certainly, it's something we should talked about at our
And
joint meeting.
again, if we're sending this to town council, we can let them know that we're just looking for those real problematic.
Exactly.
Yeah, we don't, not a
Issues.
rewrite. I mean,
Because
know,
this
got a
was
pretty-
put together from our consultants,
with
this is past muster in other
in-
places.
EOHLC kind of gave it a blessing.
Yeah, it's
And
been
the
looked
Attorney
at by
General.
the AG's office, so.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. But
That was then, this is now.
Yeah, the AG it's kind of cursory review apparently.
Yeah, but it is a review. It is worth, I
Yep.
mean, that it counts.
Yep. Yep.
it'll be, but Angus needs to bless that when he wants to do it. I mean, it's not going to be an inexpensive review.
Right. And so the question is, do you want to do that sooner so they can flag stuff? Probably not. It's more, when we're getting towards the final version
So
of
I
it.
would
How
suggest
about
It should be now. I
at the
don't think
joint
it-
meeting, bring it up?
Yes.
yeah,
Sure.
let's talk
And
about
and
it
then
then,
town
because
council can review it, and it's in time for the opening of the public hearing.
If it is in time. It's only
If
like
it
2
is.
weeks.
It'll give them a month. A
No,
month should be
12th,
enough, I
From
think.
the 12th to the 4th, maybe 3 weeks.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'll do a note. We'll copy Katrina, copy Ted and Ray. Well, copy the board. What the hell?
Yeah. we can't
Thanks,
have
Brian.
those, we can't have
Just to
those
get them thinking about this as well.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he is. I'm sure Angus is already, he's very, very organized.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh, and by the
I'm-
way, just to be clear, Tim, with all the edicts that came out and this emergency and all that, that didn't change any of our deadlines, right?
No, not for our community. No, didn't extend any of the deadlines. It was just for the ones that weren't in compliance. They got some extra time.
And even there, they didn't get much.
They didn't get much. Was it a couple months in? It was into the summer,
Well, they
right?
got something to February and then the final by July.
July, yeah.
Not much.
Oh, interesting. I'd like to know how that affects their grant funds. If the state's gonna yank grant funds, they just got a reprieve. So then what do? The towns can start spending those grant funds quickly until their deadline, and then the state yanks it again?
I think
I'm
all
interested
yanking,
to know how they'll do it.
would say all yanking is on hold until the deadline. You can't really do anything until the
Right.
day they haven't met the
Right.
deadline.
Yeah.
Just for the record and the minutes of this meeting, I'm withholding what I consider humorous comments here.
Right?
Okay. All right.
The
No political commentary. Yeah, I know. I know. I think I know where you're
We
going.
know.
Yeah.
the
I'm
sad
proud
and
of myself
serious
for restraining myself.
right. Part of it is that, there's been so much focus on, the loss of the grant funds that we can't forget the Attorney General can just take the town to court and will prevail if we don't cooperate. And so somehow that was getting lost on a number of people when we had that discussion before. This is like not some optional thing that, we get extra credit for and we get grant funds if we comply with. No, that SJC order was very clear that the Attorney General can just order the town to adopt a bylaw and the town must do it. And then we get into contempt if we don't. So,
Right.
So, Tim,
the town doesn't want to go there.
Just
You know
going to
what?
cost legal fees and you won't prevail. So yeah, why
And
would you?
also, instead of just looking at the sticks, there's a new carrot that we can use when we're trying to convince people to vote for this. There's a lot of grant funds now available for projects that are built as a result of the MBTA zone. So if we pass this and one of those sites gets developed, we get lots of grant funds to improve Route 113, which is what we're looking for right now. We're doing that whole study on 113.
Yeah.
However, a lot of the grants available don't cover state highways, but this one hopefully would.
So that's a whole
point.
section of our flyer. The
Yeah.
benefits of passing.
And I was going to say, you mentioned flyers, but I was going to say at the public hearing, our planning board member slash attorney, Tim, if you were to stand up and make this clear to people,
Yeah.
you know, just what you said here, I think
Yeah,
is that.
I think honestly, I think town council should say something about this too. You know, if we're advising the town, you know, I see need for clarity on that point because that was getting really lost and continues to get lost. Where, you know, when you see these towns, people being quoted and why things get voted down, they say, oh, you know, we can do without this grant or that grant, you know, we'll figure out the money. That's not the point. You know, they'll lose the grant money and they'll get ordered to adopt a bylaw.
And they'll
So,
end up with the bylaw anyway,
Right.
yes, exactly
just
right.
in a more painful way.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
So meanwhile, I can at least start thinking about what will be in this flyer we keep talking about.
Yes.
What kind of information, and I do think it should be a digestible form that can be handed out in paper, but that also has Q codes on it to find more information. And so let me start thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, yes, because we can distribute, you know, we can put a pile of those in the library, right? You can put a
Yes.
pile of those,
Yep.
you know, the
No,
food
and
mart.
that'll help the parents with the kids. That's about the one place. I don't know if the food
Lot of
mart will
parents.
cooperate with us, but you know, I don't know the people there well. I can't think of her name right now.
Well,
No,
you should see,
sorry.
they've got a music program on Thursday mornings here. And I mean, it's just parked up and down the street.
It's a wonderful resource in town.
It's
It is.
fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What about the Newburyport Daily News? Do a lot of people read?
Please.
Yes, they should be writing about it for sure.
So could we have an article done
No.
in that?
Why not?
It's a trash. It's a piece of trash. Nobody gets it anymore. No. They aren't even covering the MBTA anymore. I mean, there's pictures
Really?
of dogs on the front page today again.
And
Sorry.
lots of sports.
And lots of sports. I wouldn't waste your time on that, Katrina.
Okay.
What about the Valley Patriot, Brian?
I remember when we had a
West Newbury News. It was the
We
best.
used to have West Newbury News
Oh,
way
wow.
back in the day.
Back in the day.
Okay. Well, I don't want to belabor. That's fine. I
Okay,
wanted
good.
to
Thank
say
you.
this
And Ted,
thanks.
thank you very much, Ted.
Yeah.
That-
Yes, thank you.
Well, I haven't done anything yet, but
Well,
All right.
appreciate the thanks.
Volunteer. That's
You made me sleep better tonight. That's you done. Yeah.
We've got your
Um,
name down here, pal, you know? Thank you.
Katrina, before we leave it, one of the links should be to the court order too. You know,
Yes.
that should be in there.
Mm.
Because it was
There you
very
go.
clear, and as other board members have pointed out, it was actually readable, and you know,
Yes, it was
yeah.
very clear, like 3-page decision.
All right. So moving on, we had the general business minutes. We did that. Correspondence. We did that. Administrative details.
I don't really have anything.
Okay. Placement of items for future planning board agendas. We've talked about that. I don't have any items that weren't reasonably anticipated. Anybody else have something that's popped up the last minute we need to talk about tonight?
No, I
Okay.
think all these pending applications will be pending until otherwise, right?
Yep.
And so I will draft a letter of withdrawal without prejudice.
Good.
And I guess, Ray, you'll have to sign that. And also the board members will have to come in and endorse the A&R, but we'll email you when that's ready.
Good. That's good. Well, I'm actually just speaking for myself. I'm relieved we didn't have to have a vote on 0 Middle Street. That was a tough one for me.
It didn't look very good for them, so.
All right. Well, with that being the case, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor? Ray Cook, aye.
Tim Cronin, aye.
There you go. Looks unanimous. All right. Thank you, everybody.